Hello everybody, this is Jess Suriname, and welcome to another educational video. In this position, it is white to play, and what would you do if you had the white pieces? Please put your video on pause and try this out for yourself. Alright, so here, our opponent has a rook and a pawn versus our king and knight. So it's blatantly obvious that we need to play for a draw. So how do we keep a draw here? First way, or the only way to keep a draw here is to keep this king away from this pawn. A way for black to do that is to go around the rook, because the rook is defending the pawn. So black's idea is to walk around the rook and try to help the pawn promote. All right, let's see this in action. Let me remove these arrows. All right, let's see this in action. Here we start off with knight to h4, and black is bringing the rook closer so that the king can walk around the rook. So after rook to d3, we play knight to g2. Again, we are just waiting because we have the, well, not the advantage, we have the idea of the 50 move rules. If you don't know what the 50 move rule is after 50 moves, if no piece is captured or no pawns are advanced, then it's a draw. And of course, you need to claim the draw. All right, so now the king starts moving to d4. And after king to d4, you still play knight to h4. You're still waiting. King to c3. And after king to c3, you play your king to h3. And the idea of king to h3 is to bring the knight here and to capture the pawn. All right, here black has two choices. If he goes to d2, you just go knight to f5, and yeah, this is a drawn position. Yeah, so after this king to e2 move, be careful not to take the pawn directly. If you do, you lose, because after the knight captures g3, black has king to f2, and this is a lost position. So before capturing the pawn, you should play king to g2, and now the next move you can capture the pawn. And this is a drawn endgame, assuming you play this correctly. Maybe in the next video, or not the next video, upcoming videos, I will cover rook versus knight. All right, so back to this position. So if the king comes to d2, you play your knight to f5, and then first this move, and then you just capture the pawn, and then it's a draw. All right, but what happens after king to d4? After king to d4, you play your king to g4 again. So we're just repeating moves if you follow closely. So king to c3, king to h3, king to d4, king to g4. And if the king comes closer here, well, then you just play knight g2. Because knight to g2 creates a barrier for the king. Again, we don't want the black king to go anywhere near this pawn. I should use different squared arrows. Yeah. So we're trying to keep these two separated. Yeah, so after king to e4, you play knight to g2. If any rook move, you just play your knight to g4. And if the king comes here, we have king captures here. So yeah, the king cannot step in front of the rook because the rook is defending the pawn. And then this position is a draw. All right, this is the initial position again. Now we know how to keep a draw in this position. That's it for this video, and I'll see you into the next one.